Hello, welcome to our Friday TNT. Well, if you get one story and a few disgruntled social media posts, well, you can put that down to an isolated incident. But if you put 7 or 8 of those stories together, suddenly it becomes a very big story indeed. It's going to be a bad day for JetStar. Welcome to our Friday TNT. We'll also pick up on some coverage of the air pollution problem in Thailand with Nikkei Asia, and also a bit more information about that US soldier who was participating in Cobra Gold, maybe a little bit more about what happened to him. But to today's main story, and well, as I said, if you get one story in isolation, it may not seem that bad, but when you put them all together, you've got a big problem for JetStar. JetStar, of course, the discount offshoot of Qantas that seems to always be hitting the media for all the wrong problem. We start with this coverage from 7 News in Australia, and it says that a Melbourne-bound plane from Thailand was forced to land early, leaving passengers on the tarmac for hours. Exactly how long we'll find out later. Now the airlines responded. A Melbourne-bound plane was forced to land due to a medical emergency at Alice Springs, which is right smack bang in the middle of nowhere in the middle of Australia. It left hundreds of passengers stranded for hours after an electrical issue was detected on the aircraft. The flight left Bangkok 9:30 p.m. on Saturday, had to make an unexpected landing in Central Australia about 7:20 a.m. Sunday morning, but was still grounded many hours later. Officials confirmed this was due to an electrical fault being detected after the plane landed. Airline officials had to organise for a replacement mechanical part to come from Sydney. Many of the passengers on board took to social media to vent their frustration. Of course they did, at the situation which left hundreds waiting. One wrote on social media, "As Alice Springs isn't an international airport, we've all been stuck on the plane for close to 14 hours and aren't allowed to leave." So, of course, if you have come from an international port, you arrive at a domestic airport, they don't have customs or anything, so you have to stay on the plane. So a couple of messages from a friend of mine who follows aviation in Australia. Thanks very much to Damien. And he started to put other pieces of the puzzle together. JQ8 from Singapore today was cancelled. That's yesterday. According to Flight Radar 24, the following Dreamliner flights have been cancelled tomorrow. That's today. And the Dreamliner refers to the nickname given to the Boeing 787, which JetStar used for their long-haul routes. And JQ8 from Singapore to Melbourne was cancelled today. JQ18 from Phuket to Melbourne, JQ30 from Bangkok to Melbourne, and more information, JQ82 from Ho Chi Minh City to Sydney yesterday, that's Wednesday, landed 7.5 hours behind schedule. JQ38 from Denpasar to Sydney was cancelled. That's Thursday morning, Denpasar in Bali. So it looks like JetStar and its flights to and from Asia are now suffering a bit of a domino effect, perhaps all circulating around that mechanical area in Alice Springs on Sunday morning. JetStar, this is also from Channel 7 on their Twitter page, JetStar's under fire again with hundreds of passengers left in limbo in Vietnam because of a mechanical fault. Airline blaming a global parts shortage for long delays, but passengers say that's just part of the problem. And further down there on another Twitter post, JetStar passengers were stuck in Vietnam for nearly 2 days. And this story, a young Aussie couple left frustrated after JetStar flight cancellation, then agent error. And this reported by 9 News in Australia. A young Aussie couple frustrated at JetStar after initially being told their flight home from Hawaii was cancelled, but finding out days later there was another reason for the delayed trip. The 23-year-old and his girlfriend had been holidaying in Hawaii for a couple of weeks, but on February the 26th were due to fly home from Honolulu on a JetStar flight. But her son received a text hours before he was due to arrive at the airport that his flight had been cancelled due to mechanical issues. The 23-year-old was told the following day, after a nervous wait, that the next flight would be March the 2nd, 5 days later. I think you'd call that probably unacceptable. He asked them why it was going to take so long, and JetStar told him it was due to mechanical problems on the plane and it couldn't fly. Now it gets really interesting. When he said, "You're not telling the whole story here, I've seen the flights on Flight Tracker," JetStar said actually the flight wasn't cancelled, it did fly, but we had a backlog of people from an earlier cancelled flight, so actually you've been bumped. Bumped meaning he was kicked off that flight and rescheduled onto another flight, but it wasn't a mechanical error. Liar, liar, pants on fire. So Gray took to Twitter to voice her frustrations with the airline. What did we do before we had Twitter and Facebook to whinge about everything? JetStar replied to her tweet and asked her to direct message the company, but Gray said there had been radio silence after doing so. "It's appalling," she said. And finally, the spokesperson, this is from JetStar obviously, said the company will reimburse the pair for their hotel, meals and other reasonable expenses. So another horror stretch for the Australian discount airline, who again look like they've been caught with their pants down and lying. They've always had a problem with communications with the public, and these examples show that they really haven't learnt much in the past. Now, whether there is a global problem with spare parts or not, I think JetStar probably need to start being much more honest with their customers. So if you are booked with a JetStar flight over the next few days or even weeks, I'd be keeping a close look on confirming departure times. Thanks for watching TNT. It's Friday. Nick is going to be sitting right there tomorrow, and we'll find out about his adventures with our live program that starts at 9 a.m. Thai time, and you're all invited to join in. See if we can kick over 500 people during the program, because it's great to have you all along, whether you're live on the program, asking questions, contributing, or if you're watching it later. I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. We'll have to see what the news spits out later today to find our topics. And on Sunday, I've got a good friend, Steve Ross is back, so we'll be talking about, I don't know, I think we're talking about turtles or something. Anyway, we'll have Steve on the program on Sunday. Thanks to 5 Star Marine, our sponsors. Really appreciate their ongoing support. If you're heading out on a private tour off the island of Phuket, I'd certainly consider 5 Star Marine, and you can make an inquiry with them in the link in the description underneath. It's the TNT program as we whip around all the main news stories from Thailand and the region, and some follow-ups now. We go to Coconuts, Bangkok, and an autopsy conducted on a US soldier found dead in Lopburi. A forensic examination was underway today, that's yesterday, on an American soldier found dead at a military training camp in Lopburi province. Major Andrew Cotter, an officer with an army artillery unit in Thailand for the annual joint military exercise, was found dead in a bathtub this week with a wound to his head at the 31st Infantry Regiment in Lopburi City. Police did not suspect foul play and speculate that Cotter fainted and hit his head. And this from military.com. US Army artillery officer dies during assignment in Thailand. And it says that the superintendent of the Lopburi police station said Cotter's body was discovered in a bathroom around 2 a.m. on Tuesday. He fainted in the bathroom. It was locked. His soldier friends were searching and couldn't find him, so they kicked the door down and found him. He probably had a medical condition. So a different report there about what may have happened to the gentleman at this time. The man's body's been transferred to the Police General Hospital in Bangkok. US Army officials requested that they also be allowed to carry out their own autopsy. So, bit of media speculation. We don't really know what happened to him. Let's wait for the outcome of that autopsy. And another follow-up to a story from yesterday, and this reported in Nikkei Asia. And it says, yesterday we were talking about the critical problems of some of Thailand's bad air pollution at the moment. Certainly noticeable even down here on the island of Phuket, and not a situation I'm used to. In fact, as I said yesterday, I came to live on the island of Phuket because it was away from a lot of these poor air quality problems that Thailand has to put up with several times a year. So this story says that Thailand's tourism future has been darkened by air pollution. The COVID-19 masking mandate has been lifted, but many locals remain masked up. The air quality index reader on a smartphone yesterday showed 164, which at a value above 150 meant the air quality was considered unhealthy, presenting higher risks of respiratory symptoms. Let's go to more of this story. Chiang Mai and other parts of northern Thailand recorded values above 200 in early to mid-February, emerging as one of the world's most polluted areas. More about that in a moment. Thailand's air quality typically deteriorates during the dry season, which is generally from November to February, and stays poor until around April as farmers burn sugarcane fields to remove the leaves before harvesting, and other crops as well. And there's a photo yesterday taken from Doi Suthep looking out across Chiang Mai, and not much of the city to be seen. The Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha urged people to work from home and wear face masks, and ordered agencies to formulate a response. Well, I think he's been calling for that for the past 9 years. Nothing much seems to have happened so far. Lawmakers have debated several legislative bills to fight air pollution, but have yet to approve any due to opposition from businesses that would be subject to tighter regulations. Heaven forbid. And further delays in battling air pollution will not only put the health of people at risk, but also likely harm tourism, a key driver of the country's economy. And this is today, and this is shameful. Look at the situation there. Chiang Mai, number 3 in the world for the worst air pollution. And I've got underlined there up in the north, Chiang Rai, and then just south we've got Chiang Mai. And you can see lots of red and purple, which if you read the scale below indicates unhealthy and very unhealthy air. So if you're living up in northern Thailand, there's not really a lot that you can do. You can stay indoors. I was speaking to Jet Gunther last week, Jet who lives up in northern Thailand in Chiang Mai, and they stay indoors, his family, on these really bad days, and they've got 2 air purifiers running all the time. And he says they go to clean up the air filter at the end of the week and it's covered in black goo. Much better that black goo on the air filter than covering your lungs. So if you are in Chiang Mai or northern Thailand at this time, you do need to take some sort of precautions to protect yourself from the worst of this very poor air quality. And as far as tourism's concerned, well, I'm sort of caught between a rock and a hard place. I want to publicise this bad air pollution because I'm trying to put some sort of tiny bit of pressure on the people that need or can do something about this. But at the same time, maybe I'm putting off people coming to Thailand or visiting Chiang Mai, which is an otherwise beautiful part of the world and deserves your support for tourism. So I'm not really sure exactly what the answer is. But, dear, look at that. What a shameful situation. And the only people that can really do anything about it are the Thai government. So after 9 years, Mr. Prime Minister, I really think that you need to do something positive. And I know it's probably going to piss off some of your big corporate friends, especially a company like CP Oil, which does have contracts with most of the farmers in northern Thailand. And they might have to just suffer a little bit, or perhaps invest and help the farmers up there to try and solve this horrible problem. Our Friday program, please subscribe to the channel if you get a moment. Now from coconuts.co, their Bangkok edition. Oh dear, a white lion cub roaming Pattaya, traced to a wealthy owner. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that white lion cubs will one day grow up to be a big white lion. I'm not sure how long they stay cute and small. Thai police and wildlife authorities searched a residence in Chonburi province yesterday where a Chinese national's been keeping a white lion cub in contravention to the wildlife laws. Yeah, I would have thought so. Police and National Park officers were alerted by the Nong Pru district residents who saw the little white lion cub, not that little by the way, roaming freely around their homes. They told police they were concerned for their safety. Its owner was identified as Chen Tai, a 39-year-old Chinese man. He told police that he bought the 3-year-old female cub for 500,000 baht from a farm in Chachoengsao province. The white line cub is specifically Panthera leo. It's among 67 wildlife afforded legal protection in the kingdom, and people must obtain permission to possess one, and a veterinarian at the 2nd Wildlife Conservation Office in Sriracha said that while possession of a white line cub is not illegal, the owner should obtain permission. So you can own a white lion cub, or any lion cub for that matter? That's a bit of a surprise. Tai told police that he doesn't have permission yet. No penalties were reported. The park ranger only suggested Tai bring documentation about the cub's purchase to register it with the Wildlife Conservation Office. Tai also was told to keep the cub in his house and not let it roam free in the neighbourhood. Just zooming in there, it looks like he's sort of keeping it almost like a dog. Just a couple of plates of food, but I imagine as that cub gets bigger, it's going to be eating a lot more than just a bit of food left in a plate. There he is. It seems fairly tame, and the wildlife officers just being cute with him. But I'm pretty sure that that cub is going to grow up at some stage. Let's check it. It's the Panthera leo species. Let's find out a bit more about that. And female lions weigh 270 to 400 pounds, and as I checked out there, that's about 180 kilograms. And I suspect as it gets a bit older, it won't be happy just staying inside, and it'll be looking less at the owner as an owner and more as food. And that story reported by coconuts.co. Let's go to our next story today, and reported by The Nation Thailand. And a blockade of the pier to Koh Lipe is costing 10 million baht per day in lost tourism revenue, and protesters blockading the Pakbara pier are costing Satun province 10 million baht a day in lost tourism revenue. A group of 100 local fishermen parked their boats to block the waterway to protest the arrest of 24 fishermen for allegedly trespassing in a national park. Protesters complained that the arrests last week were unfair as the national park overlaps with commercial fishing areas. There they are, 100 fishing boats doing less fishing and more protesting at the moment. And Pakbara Pier is a gateway to the tourist islands of Koh Lipe, Koh Adang and Koh Rawi. Over 700 tourists are stranded on the boats as they couldn't dock at the pier due to the mob. And there they are, all their suitcases and nowhere to go. And that's where Koh Lipe is, along with those other two islands. You've got Phuket and Krabi up the top of the map there. Trang Patalung, you can see Satun province. And the yellow line there designates the border with Malaysia. So right down there in the southern part of Thailand, and a very beautiful island to get to. Not that you can right at the moment. So let's hope that protest finishes soon. And to our next story, this covered by the Straits Times. China and ASEAN to meet next week to discuss code of conduct on the South China Sea. The South China Sea for decades has been a bit of a hotspot, and a lot of different countries are claiming some sort of regional ownership over sections of the South China Sea. Certainly time this was solved. And the story says that officials from the ASEAN member states and China will continue negotiations on a code of conduct for the South China Sea next week in Jakarta. Well, this is exactly how it should be happening. It should be ASEAN and it should be China getting together to nut out a solution. We don't really need any other countries involved at this stage. Let the locals support out essentially a local dispute. China and 4 ASEAN states, Brunei, Malaysia, Philippines and Vietnam, have overlapping claims over the strategic waterways, an issue which has remained unsolved for decades. The official name of the meeting will be, this has to be the longest name for a meeting I've ever read, the meeting of the China-ASEAN Joint Working Group on the implementation of the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea. Well, I'm sorry, that's all we've got time for in today's program. Let's go on. As ASEAN chair in 2023 and the region's largest economy, I thought it was behind Singapore and Thailand, number 3. But Straits Times is a Singapore publication, so maybe I've got that wrong. Indonesia hopes to use its influence to push for negotiations to explore new approaches to expedite a successful outcome. And Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang, during his 2-day visit to Jakarta in February, vowed that Beijing will work with Southeast Asia to jointly safeguard peace and stability in the South China Sea, and he expressed support for ASEAN's strategic independence, centrality and an inclusive regional architecture. He also noted that a new Cold War or major country rivalry should not take place in the Asia-Pacific, and regional countries should not be forced to pick sides. Well, certainly both the United States and China have been trying to get some of the Southeast Asian countries to pick sides over recent times. Let's hope these meetings in Jakarta between the ASEAN countries and China can come up with some sort of useful resolution and a better approach in the future to the South China Sea. And with that, I thank you very much for being with us for Friday and for the whole of this week. Had some really great numbers and appreciate your support for the program. We try and make it better every single day. I thank you. I thank our sponsor, 5 Star Marine, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you've got some time, around about 9 a.m, we've got a live program where you can chat to us and we can talk to you. It's sort of your program. We do it for about an hour, and I'll be joined by young Nick. We'll find out what he's been doing over the past couple of weeks. We look forward to seeing you then.